what I do is, first of all, make them see the bigger picture, where if they are not motivated, if they are not successful, then they can see that it is a much bigger picture, and that it is not just them bad or not good in whatever it is. It's a bigger picture of many interrelated things. And then, I mean, take them out of this self blame and self pity and so on, and then make them see that they can do. There are examples in their own lives when they have done and succeeded, and to bring this hope and energy that they can do something that they want to, and then to appreciate and admire at every little step that they uh, do well, rather than to accuse them or tear them down when they are not able to. Helps them shape them better than by telling them where they're wrong and where they have not done well. But when they do things right and achieve something, make them as springboards for a further effort. And that's when they become self-driven, and that's really the key. If they become, I feel a teacher's role is to bring the student to the point where they are self-driven. Yes, I very much agree that education has more than something to strengthen people in the life they are to spend. It has become a ritual of competition and marks and so on, and more so in our country than others, I would say. Somehow we seem to be in some colonial hangover or something, whereby certain things are considered so high in status and so on, uh, that all other things which are equally important in our lives are artificially made to seem unsatisfactory or less good. For example, because of perhaps our British legacy, the civil services are considered the topmost things. And so many young people are stressed to do that, whether they are a manager or administrator inside or not. They are made to pursue that and work for the marks and whatever it takes. Or say engineering, it has become more like a badge or label than a skill that our society needs in the measure that it needs, not more, not less. But yet, given a chance, I think the whole 1.3 billion would like to become IIT engineers. Can you imagine if some God made you fulfill this wish? Then we would be full of engineers, nobody producing food, nobody doing anything, just engineers or just administrators. We need in society every skill in the right proportion. And if we took them in the right proportion of respect and dignity, there won't be this artificial stress that we have created in society. Because some strange way, we think that engineering is the best thing for our young or our children. We make everybody run after that, whether they are made for that or not. And then we end up with the painters becoming engineers because their parents arrange for them the best coaching and so on. So they get into the engineering institutes, and they deprive somebody who is meant to become an engineer, and that true engineer might become a clerk somewhere, and it would be a bad clerk in that job, and it would be a bad engineer because an artist has become an engineer and an engineer has become a clerk or a soldier. So we end up with a skewed society where nobody's performing at their best, and therefore our products may not be the best in the world, because we are creating this artificial thing. So I feel if we need to decolonize our minds and this mystery around what is good and what is not, dictated by others in the society or some hangover from the past, if we became more rational and took pride in becoming a carpenter or a cook or a gardener, farmer, as much pride as in becoming an administrator in the IAS. We in India need to work more on our minds, really. I have been to so many countries in the world. I did not see any of them glorifying their administrative services. I didn't see a German administrative service as the in thing for all German youths. I didn't see the French administrative service as the thing that every young person wants. And when you have this kind of artificial, unfortunate, skewed system, then it becomes a stressful youth for every child. So I would say, rather than saying it's the marks and things, I think we need to come out of this as a country, and then every young person would be happily doing whatever they are good at, whatever they are made for, and this artificial uh, stress will be free from. So we need another independence, an independence of the mind. I think again it is a manifestation of our lack of confidence in ourselves. Yeah, each person's and the nation also. Again, maybe a hangover of our colonial past. We don't seem to believe in ourselves. We are always playing to the gallery of neighbors and the locality and the relatives and the circles of parents and so on. So in those circles, maybe our parents and we ourselves think that going out somewhere will be seen as a dignified thing, and we do that. We don't seem to have this confidence that it doesn't matter what others think. The best that of the kind that I want is right here in India, when it is there. When it is not there, we should have the bigger vision that a country becomes not great just by wishing. If we go to America or go to England or whatever, France, they didn't do it just by sleeping. They patronized the institutions in their own country, and that's how those institutions became great, and that's how it draws people from other places. So for Indian institutes to become great, we'll have to patronize them, we'll have to subscribe, and that's when our own institutions will be great enough to actually attract students from outside. So we are somewhat on this sort of loser approach, where we go for anything that is better elsewhere rather than having the patience and the vision that if we support our own systems, if not in our generation, in the next generation, the world will come to our institutions. That picture, I don't know if people can see, but definitely I think we need to become more self-confident in doing what we do for ourselves rather than for our neighbors or for the locality and the relatives and so on. So it's all about that confidence. Every time I did something, people almost all the time at the initial stages ridiculed and thought it will never work, and it's so on and so forth. But if you stand your ground and persevere enough, then things prove themselves. So I would think that any young person who sees that it is available in India, the last thing to influence us should be the image or impression that it gives, as long as it is available. Now, if it is not available in India, if it is something that you really go to seek from somewhere else, by all means, we should go. If it is Sanskrit, the world should come to India to study. If it is Hebrew, we should go to Israel. If it is desert technologies, why not Israel? Ocean, somewhere else. But things that we are good enough in, I don't see any reason for us except because of the insecurities or so. And those should not be reasons for a nation.
Sonamji, it was really, really inspiring to hear you speak. It's an honor for all of us to be here. So just wanted to mention that before I ask my question. My question is more about how do you see language, the medium of instruction? How important is that in today's education? Because all of us being teachers at eVidyaloka, we teach in the local languages. So we know we've been, at least most of us have been educated, like have been taught in English as our medium. So, and we also see that we reap those benefits today, working in different parts of the world or different parts of the country where English is predominantly used as a language in all of the offices. So do you see that as a barrier, or where do you see it going?
Very, very, very good question. It's a very, very important part of how we build our nation, I feel. English is important, yes, but the way to get to good English speaking person or future is not through using English as the medium in early education. That is disastrous and damaging, I feel. Instead, if every state, I would say every region of every state, encourage the mother tongue, which is like you have an arsenal of tools and weapons to deal with the understanding of the world from mother's womb. That is your mother tongue. To not use that, to set aside that great sophisticated tool and give in your hands something just acquired, hardly acquired, crude, and not yet even smooth, to understand the world is a big barrier for any child. Now, if every child in the early years of education gets to learn in his or her mother tongue, I won't even say Hindi, where it is Hindi, surely. But if it is not, then the mother tongue, Punjabi, Dogri, whichever, that's when the child gets confidence about understanding the world. And once the child has confidence and the proficiency in one language, acquiring another, believe me, doesn't take long at all. English could be acquired at any stage once you are very good in your own language. At 8th grade, at 10th grade, many acquire much later. But we have this, I think, a misunderstanding that because India, or much of the private schools in India at least, does its education in English medium, we are better off. I really don't think we are better off. We are better off only to become second-class service industry for the world. We can take, back-end jobs for these countries. We can never lead them in their thing. That we can do if we acquire our original thinking in our own languages, and then acquire these languages to communicate that understanding and the skills we have to the world. So I would say English alone is good enough to become an okay economy, which is at the service of these countries who lead the way in the world. But if you want to lead the world, then it has to start with your own mother tongue and the confidence it gives you, and then English to change the world and rule the world. Thank you.